I'm starting a Moneyball save on FM24, but with a big twist. The save is going to take place 100 years in the future. This means I know none of the players. I can't go and sign any of the well-known wonder kids. I can't rely on any knowledge that I have. In fact, I have to rely entirely on the data. Super excited about this save. I think it should be really fun and different. So let's get into it. Come on. Welcome to day one of our Moneyball save in the future. We are Birmingham City, who currently, in the year of 2125, 100 years in the future, who currently play in the championship. They've actually been in the championship for years and years and years, and they've just finished 18th. And I've chosen them because I want this to start as a bit of a challenge. I want to use Moneyball to try and build Birmingham into a championship winning team, hopefully, get us to the Premier League, and then ultimately see if we can win the Premier League, maybe even the Champions League, using Moneyball. I feel like that, with the context of not knowing any of the players in this save, is a unique challenge and one that I just can't wait to get started with, basically. So what do I mean by Moneyball? A really quick rundown. We have done a previous Moneyball series on the channel. We were Brentford. It was incredible. We used this skin. I'll show you how it all works again for this save here. But generally, a Moneyball approach is where we're going to use data to drive everything that we do in the game, rather than knowing about a player's attributes or just knowing that a young player is going to be a really good player in real life. So we're going to use data to scout for players and try and find bargains, undervalued players, to bring them into the club, maybe sell them for a profit along the way, but mainly just trying to find those hidden gems in a way like Brentford do in real life, like Brighton do in real life. They are quintessential examples of how Moneyball works in the real world. We're going to go and try and do it now with Birmingham starting in the championship. Now, this is the Birmingham City team. I know very little about these players because they're all new gens. The entire point of this save is that everybody is going to be a new gen. Even all the managers, all the staff, everything. We're going to be playing with everything being a bit of an unknown. We've got Bruno, who's listed as our key player here. And using this skin, you'll notice a few changes. Instead of being able to see Bruno's attributes straight away, I can see these bar charts and these pizza charts, and this is a really cool one here, and these data visualizations instead of seeing his attributes. We do have these little circles down here, which do kind of show his ability in different disciplines. For example, his agility looks really good because he's got this big yellow circle. Compare that to his jumping, which isn't very good, which is a tiny red circle. So we can get a general idea about how good players are at different things, but we don't get to put a specific number on it. It's a bit more realistic in that sense, because you'd understand that Bruno might be quite quick. If you were to go and watch him in training, you probably wouldn't say he's 17 pace, because that's not a thing, is it? But what we'll be using most of all is this data here. These stats compare players across the top 20 leagues and express the data as a percentile. Now, if I make it more specific and look for attacking midfielders, which is kind of what he is, he's a winger, he's an attacking midfielder. These are now players that play as an attacking midfielder, and it compares Bruno and his data from the previous season, where he played 41 games, look, had 3,276 minutes, scored 7 goals, 7 assists, decent average rating actually. But if you compare his data, you can see what he excels in and what he doesn't excel in, so that when we're trying to build a team, we're looking for players that fit exactly what we want to get from them in the game. So if I go here, I quite like this pizza chart. Shows that he's strongest on things like non-penalty expected goals, expected assists are pretty decent. He gets a decent number of shots off per game. But if you're going to expect lots of decent passing from him, perhaps that's not really his game, because these are a lot lower. I actually really like the bar charts here. I actually look at his data here, and I don't think these are particularly strong, especially for a player that is listed as our key player and is on lots and lots of money. And this is kind of where I'm going to begin today's save. I'm going to go and do a bit of an audit of our entire squad, comparing their data across the league, across the other leagues in the save game, and try and ascertain which players I want to be here for next year and which players I should be looking for replacements for, using our Moneyball approach of looking for bargains, looking for players that stand out because of their data. We've got a little bit of money. We've got £3.25 million to spend. We've got a little bit of wage budget left over, and there is some business going on right now that I will need to deal with too. But before I go and do that business, let me put into context where Birmingham City actually are in the save and what the world looks like 100 years in the future. So we've taken over as the manager. We have a key player that I've just shown you in Bruno. His contract is actually expiring in this summer, so I will need to make a decision on whether I give him a new contract, find out if he even wants to sign a new contract. Our captain is Mike Blackwell, who is a centre-back, and our vice captain is Killian Duggan. We have not really won anything in the history of this save. Even 100 years in the future, our only cup win is the Carabao Cup, which was back in 2011, over 110 years ago. It was that Obafemi Martins Cup final, which that's not great, is it? I don't think we've won the championship in that time either. No, the last championship winner was 1955. We did win League One in 2050, so they did get relegated and come back up. I find out actually if they did get promoted, if they've been in the Premier League, maybe through finishing in the playoffs or going through the playoffs like that. They've also not won this Bristol Street Motors trophy since 1995. If I go to history and competitions here, I want to find out, have they been in the Premier League? There's the competition wins. They did win League One here, look. They've not been in the Europa League since 1961. They've come third a few times, look. 2076, 2072, 2044. They've come third in the championship. That means they might have been promoted. Yeah, okay, they've been promoted twice. 2072 they got promoted and then got relegated the following year, finishing 19th. And the same thing happened in 2084-85, relegated back down to the championship. And then if you go to here, you can see that for the past 20 or so years, they've been in the championship. That's a championship finish 11th. The year before last was 11th again. And then this most recent season, back down to 18th. They are very much stagnating in the championship. So that gives us a lot of work to do this summer, doesn't it? I guess now, though, it's time to go and do my squad audit and get cracking with a few transfers. When I do the transfers, by the way, I'll talk you through the entire process, which involves exporting data from Football Manager and sticking it into some software, which I'm going to show you. And then you can analyze all of the data and make informed decisions about players that you want to go and sign. It's a really fun process, and I'll share that with you once I've done some transfers. But before that, I've also given us some lovely new kits in game. They look pretty snazzy. I think you'd agree. And that brings us on to the sponsor of today's video. And that's because today's video is sponsored by fmkitcreator.com. You may remember I did a video all about this site not that long ago. And since then, these guys, these wonderful people at fmkitcreator.com reached out for me and asked me to keep telling you guys about it because so many of you had gone across and tried it out. And you should try it out because it is, for me, the best place to create custom kits for your FM game. It's super easy to use, completely customizable, and there's loads of free templates to go and use on the website. However, if you want to take it to another level like me, you could purchase the Plus membership, which unlocks a whole load of premium templates and official badges and official logos. And finally, one last thing I need to tell you about, which is a new feature, is the bulk kit generator, which you can use to go and generate brand new custom kits for every team in your league with just one click of a button, which I think is pretty cool. A big thank you to the guys at fmkitcreator.com. Let's get back into our video. Okay then, so I've been busy recruiting and I'm going to talk you through my process a little bit. I've actually been really busy this window, more busy than I think I'm going to be in future windows, but that's because I wanted to try and create my own squad here. I'm a real sucker in FM for wanting the squad that I'm using to be players that I've signed. I'm not great at inheriting players and having that type of emotional attachment to them. I really want to sign my own players. And especially in a save like this where I don't know anybody, I've gone quite big in the window in terms of numbers. I think I've found bargains and I'm going to show you the process of how I've managed to do so. This is our transfer business of this summer then. It starts with Tsubasa Takamura from Southampton, and then we've got Farisar and Yakuba Campuare. It then also includes some sales here. A big one, by the way, Michael Benson, who was our captain, I've sold for about £3 million to go and give us a bit of budget to go and spend. I think I've spent about 8 million and I've sold players to about the value of about £8 million, which I think for a championship team isn't too outrageous, especially because everything that we've spent, we've also brought through the door in sales. So I think I'm sticking to Moneyball in that regard. And I also think the players that I've signed are bargains. I don't think there's a player more than about £2 million. These three in, as well as this business, which is that happened before the takeover, this after the takeover. So there's £8.5 million out there. It's actually more than 8 million then out, about £10 million out and then 8 million in. In fact, we can check that. And I'm going to keep an eye on this by going to my manager overview and keeping an eye on this. So the transfer value of players bought, I've brought in 8 players, £8.5 million spent. I've sold players for £11.25 million and it's 5 players sold. So, and I think for this save, I should try and keep the value of players sold to be higher than the value of players brought in. I think that's sort of true Moneyball then, isn't it? I know that profit isn't the be all and the end all of Moneyball. Moneyball is about trying to find players who are undervalued, and it's all data driven. That's kind of the main crux of things. But I think if we can turn a profit, I think that does play into the way that I want to approach things too. So at the moment, we are sticking to that. The most money we spent was £2.1 million on Hikaru Nakayama, who is going to be our right back. And you can see, look, by his data here, look, as a fullback, he's performed very well in the first. This is only 5 games. The data updates per season. So when we're comparing now, we're comparing them to this season's. Just something to bear in mind. After that tick over date, you can't actually go and compare it to last season's data anymore, which is a bit of a shame. However, so far, he's made a good start. You can see by this pizza chart here, he's made a really good start in terms of dribbles, progressive passes, expected assists. He's actually got himself 5 assists in his first 5 games from right back. He's a great example of, I think, a little bit of good Moneyball recruitment. However, let's go back to this list of players because I want to show you the process. How did I find players like Hikaru Nakayama there, who came from Japan? He was playing for Machida Zelvia in Japan when we found him, and I picked him up for £2.1 million. However, I'm going to use Faris Sarr as our example of a little bit of Moneyball recruitment here. He is a striker that I have signed from Portsmouth for 550k. Portsmouth are in League One, or were in League One last season, and they got themselves promoted. They had a really good season, and Faris Sarr was their main striker. Now, it's a really obvious, easy place to go and find a striker. Look in the league below you who did well and sign him. That's kind of what I did. I found him. He's 20 years old. He's 6'2", which straight away, in terms of a profile, it's the type of thing I'd be looking for, definitely. We don't know how quick he is, but if you have a look at his quickness here, these attribute circles are decent size. So I wouldn't say he's slow. I also wouldn't say that is one of his main things. Look how good his composure is. Look how good his flair is. But there's nothing that concerns me on there. In fact, what really caught my attention was his data from last season. He scored 17 goals in 44 starts. That's very strong. He'd had a season before that where he'd first come to the country and scored 8 goals in 40 games, but only 29 starts. And he'd actually scored a lot of goals back in his native Senegal. Look, 23 and 34 in that season. Something I always look for in FM. If you're going to sign a striker, have they scored goals? Even if it's back in a different league or anything like that, do they work in the match engine? Which I guess if you compare that to real life, are they able to put themselves in the position? Do they put the ball in the back of the net? It's such a basic thing, but I think it applies here. He has scored goals previously in his career, but I didn't actually find him just by looking in the league below. I actually found him by exporting some data from our player search. Now, let me show you my process of recruitment in this save, because this is going to be important. And if you're going to do this type of save yourself, I really urge you to go and try this type of thing. It's a completely different way of playing Football Manager. What I've been doing is using my player search screen here and using the following view, which you can download. I'm going to put a link to FM Data Lab in the description of today's video. This is what I've been using. If you use this view and then filter by the players that you're looking for, let's say I was looking for a striker. I'm looking for pretty young strikers, younger than 24 here. I may even put a limit to their transfer value so that I know that I'm going to be picking up bargains. And then once you've filtered this down to the types of players that you'll be looking for, obviously as well, I've also put my scouting range up to the very max, and I'm going to try and build my scouting team here. They're going to be so important for this save. I want to bring in the best scouts. I want to have the most knowledge from around the world, and I want to make sure that I've got budget put into scouting so I have the widest scope for players that I'm looking for. In fact, having just done those filters there, look at the man who comes out at the very top of here. Another little quick tip, by the way, I've made sure that I include my own players in these filters, because actually there's no point trying to recruit improvements on your players if your players that you've got are the best for this. So straight away, Faris Sarr is on here, but what you then need to do is you will then export this entire list. I've got 224 players here. If you select all of them with Control A and then press Control P, you can export this as a web page. Now, this is where it gets a little bit intricate. If you save this web page somewhere and then go to this website here, which is fmdatalab.com, they have a section called Moneyball where it gives you all the instructions on how to use it, how to put the different views in, the ones that I've just shown you in there, etc., etc. However, once you've done all that, you can then click Moneyball Upload. You can find the exported player list that you've just created. For example, here's my strikers one. Season 1 strikers is what I called it when I was first looking for a striker. Once you've done that, I've now got this. When I filtered it before, I had 2,718 strikers that I was looking at. You can then use this website to go and look at all sorts of data. Because in the game, this view here scrolls all the way across. It actually lists all of their data from that previous season. Now, this list here is slightly different to the one that I've done before because I exported all that data from the previous season. So I had an entire season's worth of data to go and compare. That data looked a little bit like this. And I really like using this thing here. It's called the chart. And here you can create a chart that you can then go and tweak the metrics for as well. So for example, if I just go for simply, let's just go for XG from last season and maybe let's do non-penalty XG. Let's keep it really simple on here. We'd be looking for the player that has the highest XG and the highest non-penalty XG, which on this list here was Alejandro Palomeque. Now, Alejandro Palomeque is an 18-year-old who was playing for Granada C in the lower divisions in Spain. And actually from there, look, you can see that he had an average rating of 7.74 and he's 100th percentile for both XG and non-penalty XG. Obviously, from this point here, he looks like a really good option. What I'd go and do is have a look at him in game, compare him that way, etc, etc. So what I did was look at all of this data from here in different ways. I was using different metrics on here. I was looking at different tables. I was comparing in loads of different ways. You can go and filter things. I was putting in a minimum number of minutes played. I was putting in different leagues that they had to play in. Really going through it, looking for the type of player that I wanted. Once I'd done that, I created a short list of players in game, exported that list of players, and that short list, as seen here, looked like this, where it only included 8 players. Now, these players are what I deem to be realistic signings for us. We've got players like Yambo Montero, John Gomez, who's a free agent actually, so not loads of data on him, although I am still intrigued by him. And at the bottom, you'll notice Fari Sarr. If I go to my chart over here, and if we go for expected goals, let's go expected goals per 90 and non-penalty XG. On here, we're looking for the player that is furthest along to this side and highest up. So we've got 2 options. We've got a very high XG per 90 data point here, who is Drissa Diarra. And we've also got somebody who has a pretty strong XG per 90 and a very strong non-penalty XG. And that is this man up here, which is Fari Sarr. Can you see why I've arrived at the idea of signing Fari Sarr? From the realistic players that I've got, he turned out to be the one that I felt was the most viable option. If you actually click on him on here as well, you can actually go and compare him using this comparison chart. I actually like to remove this one because it's not particularly helpful. You can have a look. He's got the best creative actions per 90 out of all positions on this list here. And then you can compare. I like to get rid of this one. If you find Fari Sarr's right in the middle here, and you can then compare to like the top 5% strikers and the best finisher striker, which was Nicolas Rios from this list. He was another player that I was having a look at as well. And basically from this, you can make a decision of who the best player is for you to go and sign based on the data. It's a completely different way of playing the game. Some of you, I'm sure, will have used this. Some of you, this will be completely new. It's not quite as big and as scary as you think it's going to be. In fact, it's just a really nice way of getting a visualization of just pointing out players that you think look pretty good. And that resulted for me in me signing Fari Sarr for £550,000 from Portsmouth. And he's going to be one of our strikers this season. He's actually had a pretty decent start to the season. In 8 appearances, he's scored 5 games in just 630 minutes so far, and he's got an average rating of 7.42, which is a good start. It's a really good start, isn't it? He's also only 20 years old. Another big reason why I've gone for him, because I think for his value and for the wage that he's going to be on and for his age, I think he's just a player that we can really start to rely on. Hopefully he's going to be the first real success story of this save. And I went and repeated this. I did basically the same system, the same process for all of the players that I've signed this season. And they are as follows. We have the right back Hikaru Nakayama from the Japanese team Machida Zelvia, who I showed you before. He's going to be our starting right back. I've had to actually give him one of our allocated work permit places. The rest of the players have got work permits. He didn't get a work permit, which I don't know if that's a thing about being so far in the future, but work permits seem to be a little bit more of an issue in this particular save, which is just something maybe to keep an eye on. He's going to be our right back. I've also spent pretty big, and I'm very excited about this one, a left winger called Abel. Now, Abel straight away has a massive value having brought him in, and he's made an outstanding start for us. He's going to be our left-sided inside forward. He's actually massive at 6'3" as well. Again, only 20 years old. I'm really trying to prioritize young players, not because it's necessarily strictly Moneyball, but if you sign a young player, they're going to have a bigger sell-on value, and you may be able to get a cheaper player that will then become more valuable in the future. I think with Moneyball, signing a player that is a little bit older and is maybe a little bit now undervalued is definitely something you can go for. However, I think in the main, I think we should be aiming to try and sign younger players. I think it just makes sense. Abel is going to play on the left wing. I think he looks brilliant. Again, the data on here, a little bit of take it with a pinch of salt just because it's only in a really small sample size, but he looks fantastic. He signed for £1.5 million, having played in the second division in Spain last year for Levante and did okay. It wasn't these basic numbers here, but it was some of his underlying numbers that attracted me to him, as well as the fact he was quite cheap and looked like he had a bit of potential. Obviously with this as well, it's data, but it's also our scouts. If they tell me that this player's got huge potential, I can rely on my scouts a little bit and use that to all factor into my decision making about whether we should sign a player or not. I've also signed a new centre-back called Danny Ogle. This one's very simple. He's 6'5" and he was on a free transfer. So I've kind of made the decision there, although he's actually got a massive value, look, straight away. He was on loan in the Championship last year with West Ham and did okay for them. Didn't score many goals though. I'm hoping he can score some goals this year, although he hasn't yet. He's got 1 assist in his first 6 games. But he was on a free transfer. I've loaned in another centre-back in Elliot Steele. I've also loaned some backups here in Joseph Nwosu and Louis Lozano, just because actually I'm willing to take more of a punt on loan players, even if the data's not quite there, because it's a loan and because they might be backups. I think it just makes sense to flesh out the squad a little bit with some loans in there. And then finally, Mohsen Sharifi has come in to be a defensive midfielder. However, he wasn't my first choice. I actually went back to my data to sign him after my first choice signing for the defensive midfield spot, Yakuba Campoire, who I signed for £1.7 million. After he broke his leg. Immediately, he got injured. I'm really excited about him. I look at some of his attribute circles here, and I think they look really good for a defensive midfielder. He had some great data in the Championship from last year, where he was a super young player. He signed for Wickham from RC Bobo in Burkina Faso, and looks really promising. We signed him for £1.7 million. But he has broke his leg and he's going to be out for 2 to 4 months, which is such a shame. But Sharifi, who I've brought in to replace him, also looks really good. Campoire can also play as a centre-back. He's actually listed as a centre-back, but we were going to use him as a defensive midfielder in our number 6 spot there. But maybe when he comes back, if Sharifi's any good, maybe he can go into defence and then Sharifi plays in the number 6 spot. We will see. Other players, just to show you quickly, I signed a left-back in Tsubasa Takamura from Southampton. He was also in the Championship last year, played loads of games, looked like a really solid Championship left-back. 5 assists from him as well in the first 5 games here. First 6 games, I should say, is really good. We've looked at Faris Sarr. We've looked at Campoire. I don't think... Is there anybody I've missed on here? Oh, there is. One more. John A. Arnau is the final one. A player that I've brought in to play as our number 10 in our system. He's only a tiny... 5'3", but he was playing for Las Palmas in the second division in Spain. Weirdly, it looks like we've got quite a lot of knowledge of Spain and particularly the second division, where he played a lot of games last year. 39 games, 11 goals, 6 assists, and he came out really nicely when I was comparing him to other number 10s. The team with all of these in now looks like this. We've got a great goalkeeper who is homegrown. The homegrown thing, by the way, when I'm scouting for players, I'll actually just really quickly show you on here. If I just go by that filter that I showed you just before, and if I just scroll this back along to here so you can see the nationality of players, even if I just scroll down these 224 players that I've got from the strikers, so few of them are actually English. I don't know if that's, again, another thing that's happened because we're 100 years in the future, but it feels like it's going to be difficult to sign homegrown players. So I was very happy to find out that our goalkeeper, Kavanagh Keedle, looks like he's got quite a bit of potential and is English, which is always really good. So he's going to hopefully be our keeper for a while now. We're going to have Nakayama and Takamura, our Japanese wing-backs, or fullbacks. We're going to have Danny Ogle, who signed as the big 6'5" Australian centre-back. And then the loan signing of Elliot Steele comes in as our other centre-back. I did sell our captain Mike Blackwell for £1.8 million. Weirdly, Vittoria Di Guimares came in and signed 2 of our players, look, for decent money, which was quite helpful. Keon Latapi was an attacking midfielder, but I'm happy for a 29-year-old to go for £4.1 million to give us the money to go and sign the players that I wanted to. I was quite happy to let that happen. We've got 2 new centre-backs in there. In fact, an entirely new back 4 here. Campoire was supposed to be the starting number 6, but now Mohsen Sharifi comes in to start with the broken leg that Campoire got. We've got a player that was already here in David Hinostroza to play as our number 8, or the lone centre midfielder. He could actually play as a number 10 as well. He's 6'4" as well. He looks like he's actually got quite a lot about him. Really good value as well. So him and Arnau are going to be our 2 midfielders. Could actually either both swap, to be honest, as well. But I think I'm going to go Hinostroza here, Arnau here. Abel that I showed you on the left wing, with Faris Sarr as one of our strikers. And then finally, a loan that I renewed for this year, which was Harry Freeman. When I was scouting for strikers, one of the best strikers that kept popping up in terms of data was Harry Freeman, who was on loan at us last season. So I thought it just made sense to renew his loan for another season. They were happy to do that, and he's made a great start. 8 goals in his first 6 games is a truly phenomenal start. And actually, we've made a truly phenomenal start, to be quite honest with you. This is our beginning of our championship season. We won the first game 6-1. We're going to go and absolutely rout this league at this stage. It hasn't quite been like that in the other games, but a 6-1 win with 2 goals from Freeman, 2 goals from Farisar. Hinostroza, Abel, Takamura got sent off, but we don't talk about that. We then beat Newport County. Again, Freeman and Saar both on the score sheet in that one. We drew to West Brom away from home, which I feel like is okay. By the way, I should show you, we're 4th in the league at the moment. We are predicted to finish 8th. I think that gives us, I always say this, that gives us a real shot of finishing in the playoff places. I think playoffs, top 6, has to sort of be our aim for this season. If we get in the playoffs and then we run the gauntlet of actually going through the playoffs, I think I'd be happy with that. And that's kind of what I'm aiming for this year. We've made a good start for that. It's 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss so far. The other results, just to talk you through them, we beat Reading 3-0. Freeman, Saar, both on the score sheet. Huddersfield, with Freeman scoring the winner in the 94th minute in that. We did lose to Swansea, so we do have a loss in us. We're not going to go unbeaten. It was, again, a 94th minute winner this time against us, though. Harry Freeman on the score sheet in that one. We beat Mansfield 3-0 in the EFL Cup, and then most recently we've beaten Charlton 3-0 in the league. Harry Freeman with 2 in that one. And the reason we're here now is because the window is actually just closed now. It has just been deadline day, and there you go. Look, the deadline has passed, and we're ready now to go into this season with these new signings in place. I'm really excited about these players because they're now my own players. We can now really get to know them, see how they perform, really look at that data and start to maybe come up with some players that we keep an eye on over the course of the season. I'm going to be constantly scouting. And if I find a player that I think we should target in the future, I want to tell you all about him, keep tabs on them. And I think we should do less transfers as it goes through to really focus on the transfers that we make. That's kind of how I think I'm going to play this anyway, but we will see. Right now, I'm going to go and play a load of games and I'll be back to let you know how the season is going. Let's go. Okay then, welcome back at around the halfway point of our first season then here at Birmingham in our future Moneyball save. It's the 31st of December, 21-25. Of course it is. We are, by the way, our manager is just 100 years old. I still set his age to be born on my birthday, but he's now, he's now 100 years old. Well, I guess he's actually 133 years old, isn't he? But we move so far in this season then at about the halfway point. We're currently 8th. I'm actually a bit disappointed. We made that amazing start that I showed you this year. We've dropped off a little bit. We're on 41 points, just below the playoff places. We've got a game with Sheffield United coming up here. Look, 41 points. 45 is the threshold for playoffs at the moment. Millwall are there. Preston, by the way, outrageous football team. Actually, if you just check them, I didn't realise they were quite as big favourites as they are. They've got one of the bigger wages in the league, £80,000 a week. Look, they're paying this Estonian striker Carol Thompson. If you go by their values as well, 41 to 65 million pounds in 93. He's not a striker then. 93 caps, 3 goals. He actually is a striker. He's a non-goal scoring striker. He's actually got loads of goals for Preston. What is that record for Estonia? 93 caps, 3 goals. Maybe he doesn't play as a striker for them. Either way, Preston are really good. In fact, if I actually show you the wages of the league, I think it's quite important to see. We are all the way still down there in 20th place, the 20th highest wages in the league. It is Bournemouth, Watford, Swansea, and then Preston are in 4th in there. So even though I actually put a few players on decent wages, look, £20,000 a week, it's actually less than they were on before. Something I didn't mention before as well, by the way. I did allow Bruno to leave. When I spoke to him about signing a new contract, he was listed as our key player at the beginning, if you remember. When I spoke to him about signing a new contract, he wanted like 50 odd K a week. I couldn't even offer him that, even if I wanted to. So we have shifted him on. This is where we're at. Compare that, £20,000 being our top earner. Compare that to Preston with £80,000. I mean, you have to go all the way down to this point here to see what we're up against. I think we're doing okay, all things considered, even if results haven't been as good as they started out. This first month of the season, August, led us to believe, even that win against Charlton afterwards, led us to believe we're in a great position to go and maybe even win the league. Hasn't quite been that. We've since lost to Blackburn here, look. We drew a couple of games. We dropped points in 4 games out of 6 in October, including losing 6-2 to Wickham in the EFL Cup. I don't really know what happened here. I mean, we did have a red card, so it's probably just that, but it was a very weird, bizarre loss there. They are in the league below Wickham, by the way. That's a League One team we lost 6-2 to. We did actually even manage to bounce back. We beat Southampton 4-1, beat Portsmouth 5-3, then 2 weird games. We scored 4 in both of these games, but conceded 6 and then 7. Don't know if this means that I need to think about the tactic or maybe bring in better defenders, but we conceded 7 goals to Plymouth at home. Did score 4 goals ourselves, though. It was only a problem for these 2 games as well, because after that we kept a clean sheet against Stoke. It doesn't make much sense, but we are where we are. It's actually been a really rough last 4 games as well. We drew 2 and then lost 2. We've just lost to Derby County and then lost to Bristol City before that as well. It's a little bit rough out there, but I still think we can maybe, if we put together a bit of a run from now, we can sneak into these playoffs. If we finish in the top half, if we finish around 8th, it's where we're predicted to finish. And then maybe we go again in the transfer window for next year. Right now, though, I don't think I'm going to do any transfer business in this January window. We've got a little bit of money, but not loads. But I'm relatively happy with where the squad's at. I'm quite content with how players are performing. If I show you on here, in fact, if I just make this so you can see everything, we've got some real standout performers. Nakayama from right back has got 19 assists from right back. Is on set pieces, but even then, we're not scoring all that many. Danny Ogle's got 8, to be fair, at 6'5" in the centre of defence. But 19 assists is just outrageous, especially when you consider that Abel has got 15 goals and 15 assists from that left wing here. Goal scoring, both strikers have chipped in with goals. Faris Sarr did have an injury and has only started 15 games because of that, but he should be back now, should be able to play lots more games. Got 9 goals and 15. Harry Freeman, great loan signing, 23 goals and 25. And then even our midfielders are chipping in. Hinostroza has been chipping in. He's got 7 goals, 6 assists. I've actually ended up swapping these for quite a lot of games. Johnny R now playing in the midfield spot and Hinostroza playing as the number 10. They can both play both of those. I actually had a look and realised that Johnny R now can play defensive midfield a little bit more comfortably, which is why I've swapped them just for now, but they may swap back at some point. And then Sharifi is still starting as DM, as the number 6. Kompari is now back from injury, has played 5 times, but now he's on international duty. So he's away with Burkina Faso for AFCON. Same with Nwosu, who's a backup attacker. He's Nigerian. But the squad's looking good. I'm really happy with some of the players we brought in. I love both fullbacks. The keeper, although injured at the moment, has been great. Danny Ogle scores goals. Elliot Steele, I'd like to try and keep him next year, but maybe trying to sign a left centre-back for next year. Mordiata isn't bad when he does come in, but I think Elliot Steele is just that little bit better. Seems to be in his performances anyway. Number 6, we've got 2 good options. Arnau and Hinostroza are great. Abel's brilliant. And then the 2 strikers, really good fun. We've had to play Louis Lozano as our striker quite a lot. He's got 5 goals, 6 assists. He is on loan from Bayern Munich. And he's performing pretty well, more as a creator, it seems, rather than a goal scorer. If you have a look at some of his data here, look, goals, he's really low. Expected assists, though, right through off the charts almost as well. So maybe he's more of a provider. And he has actually been playing as this pressing forward, which is almost like a winger, but slightly higher. So when he plays in there, he is doing a good job of it. But Faris Sarr is the starting striker in that position if I'm choosing my best 11. That's the squad. Like I say, I don't think I'm going to do any transfer business. We have had our youth intake preview. It looks like it's going to be average at best for this year. I'd love it if we could get some good players through our youth intakes, but our facilities, they're not amazing. Look, it's something we need to work on. To be fair, we actually do have excellent youth facilities, but our youth recruitment is only above average and we've only got good academy coaching. So I'm not necessarily expecting amazing players until hopefully we can improve these things. If we can get ourselves finishing towards the top of the league, if we can get promoted, you can start to reinvest some of that money. Maybe some of the money that we can make through selling players and turning a profit, invest it back into the team to develop our own players, the coaching, etc., develop our own players. I have been working on our staff as well. We are slowly but surely increasing on here, but it's going to take a bit of recruitment as well. And I can't go and sign some of the go-to staff that I'd usually sign because everybody, including my assistant manager, is a new gen. He's 55 years old, is Tommy Ossay, but he's a new gen. He's been a caretaker manager here twice, actually. Look, in 2106, that was 19 years ago. When did he join? Because it says he's joined in 2102, which was 23 years ago. I have no idea. I'm so lost on like how old people are and things. Like, do we have any of the old staff in here, or did they? How old's Roy Hodgson? I'm sure Roy Hodgson must be dead. R.I.P. Roy. Not in real life. Don't panic. But oh god, I've just had a horrible thought. R.I.P. Roy in the comment section of today's video, I assume. Anyway, back to matters in hand. I'm going to go and play through this January window now. If I make some signings, I'll be back to tell you about them. If I don't, I'll be back at the end of the season to let you know how this season has gone. And I'll also show you that youth intake, of course. Let's pray and hope we can sneak into these playoff spots. But if not, oh well. Okay then, welcome to the end of the season where you will notice on the screen right now, we are in the playoffs. We've actually managed to sneak in. It's been a great second half of the season. We've actually ended up finishing 4th in the league on 86 points, nowhere near Preston and they're 100 points. And West Ham will be back in the Premier League next year. They've got 96. Plymouth in 3rd. They're going to be favourites for these playoffs. We will play against, though, Millwall, who finished in 5th, 4 points behind us. We've actually ended up getting in there pretty easily in the end, and that's because the second half of the season looked like this for us. From January onwards, we had a decent January, a couple of losses at the end. We went out of the FA Cup to Watford. We had a decent February with a loss against Swansea in there, a loss to Blackburn, and then we had a fantastic March. We won every game bar one where we drew to Plymouth. 4 goals, by the way, from Farry Sarr. I said he was back from his injury. I said he's going to be playing football again. 4 goals in this game, which is not too shabby at all. Then we also had a really good April after that. Lost the last game against Stoke, but after that, by that point, because of those 4, well, it was 6 wins on the bounce look, scored a load of goals. 5-2, 4-3, 4-3 in those games. By that point, our place in the playoffs was confirmed. And then we finished up the season with a 2-0 win at home to Brentford, to give us a 4th place finish. The team into some live com games then. We're going to do some matches where we'll probably play these playoff games as live coms, I reckon. We've got the Millwall tie first away from home to begin with. Our team has been performing brilliantly. If I just show you, if I show you the stats on here, a massive part of that has been some of the new signings. Actually, a lot of them are new signings, aren't they? But the new signings have been superb in many different ways. Nakayama from right back has got himself 30 assists. Now at this stage in May, having a look at some of the data is super interesting. If I go to him here, and in terms of fullbacks, which is this one here, he has got, in fact, I'm going to show you on the bar charts because that's my favorite one here. In terms of fullbacks, those expected assists look off the charts. Non-penalty expected goals right up there too. Shots really good. Progressive passes are decent as well, but it's these expected assists. There is nobody, I reckon, from the top 10 leagues around the world who's going to come anywhere near Hikaru Nakayama, who's been a revelation as a right back for a 7.49 average rating, something we need to consider when we go and do some recruitment, hopefully for the Premier League, although we have to go and win these playoffs for that. He's been sensational. Danny Ogle's got himself 10 goals in there. I've been using Campoire as one of our centre-backs as well, although that's mainly because our loanees got recalled in January. I said I'd be back to tell you about the January business. We ended up not doing any, except for the fact that we lost 3 of our loanees. Elliot Steele and then both attacking players, Nwuso and Lozano, all did get recalled because when you do a loan on Football Manager, you have to promise them a certain position and role, and they get really fussy about it and then they recall them. And it seems like you can't do the deal unless you promise these things. So for me, it doesn't really work particularly well and they end up getting recalled quite often. Elliot Steele played every game. Before he got sent back, look, he played 25 games this season. He then went on loan to Brentford, who he's been playing games for as well. But it's a real shame. I think it's because we promised them that he'd play as a central defender, not as a ball-playing defender. But it is what it is. He went back, and luckily we had Campoire to come in and play as the centre-back in there in his place. It does mean that Sharifi's had to play as the number 6 for the rest of the season. But the rest of the team is settled. Have a look at some of these stats, though. 28 goals from Abel on the left-hand side. If we look at his data, I'm going to put him in as a forward, actually, and compare him to forwards because he's been playing as an inside forward, so it's more of a striker than it is a winger, I'd probably say. But have a look at that. Data-wise, you're not going to find anyone in the world of football, probably, whose data is going to stand out like this. He creates goals. Look at the number of shots he has. 5.05 per game is outrageous. Headers, he wins all of them. Possession, he wins it back all the time. Brilliant pressing, and then look at the goals on there too. Non-penalty expected goals right up there. Goals right up there as well. 28 goals, 23 assists, 7.66 average rating. Superb signing. His value, if we do get promoted, I think will go through the absolute roof. He's only 20 and he's got caps for Spain at under 23 level. He is going to be one that we're going to have to really fight tooth and nail to try and hold on to next season because he is that good. And then our strike force, Farry Sarr has got himself 24 goals and 4 assists. And then Harry Freeman, 33 goals in 45 games. We are free scoring. And the signings we made, the fullbacks, Abel and Sarr up front, I think we've built a really cool team here. But now can we go and convert it to promotion? We're going to go and play some games. It is actually match day. In fact, let's get straight into it. Let's pick this team for the first playoff semi-final. We're away from home at Millwall. The big news is that Nakayama is suspended. So we're going to have to bring in, I think it's going to be Sastra. He's played a fair few games as one of our right backs as well. And we'll just pop Nsingi on the bench as well as the backup there. Bit of extra information as well. David Hinestroza is really upset that we haven't got enough goalkeeping depth, and Mohsen Sharifi has lost trust in me and wants to leave. So there might be 2 players that we move on in the summer transfer window. Again, it might also depend on where we're playing next year, if we're in the Championship or if we're in the Premier League. That's going to be the team though. Let's submit it. Let's get into this game. Away at Millwall. A big result here gives us a real good chance to get into that final, doesn't it? Let's see if we can get the job done. Okay, we are wearing our white away kit, which is very beautiful, very nice indeed. The 3D kits are something that are created if you use FM Kit Creator, by the way, today's sponsor. And here we go. We are now then underway with 5 minutes on the clock. No highlights as of yet. We can see on this tablet here, which is different in this skin. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned it at the start. This is the Musterman Moneyball skin. You can download it. It's linked in the description of today's video. It's brilliant because it hides things like the player's attributes. If I didn't mention that before, I've mentioned it now. I used it in the last Moneyball series that we did with Brentford, and I think for me it's the best one to do a Moneyball save like this. Here we go then. First highlight, McBride on the attack for Millwall. Ogwuche's just put that wide. That was a good chance for them. I'd take a draw here, right? You take a draw in the away leg, try and get the win on home soil. Set pieces could be important for us. Abel, loads of those assists come from these. Aiming for Harry Ogle, who's not called Harry. His name's Danny, but he has headed it into the back of the net. It's 1-0, and we lead from a very familiar route, actually. Corner in, big header, and it's 1-0. Lovely stuff. Right, that is really good. Abel with another assist. His numbers just outrageous. It's a really strong bullet header as well from Danny Ogle. Well, I called Harry there for... Not really sure why, but I did. So there we go. And that, I think, is going to be the only real highlight of this first half. We're approaching half-time. We're in added time. And we're going to go in leading at 1-0. This is perfect. I'm going to tell them, keep going. I'm happy with your performance so far. Keep it up. Can we go through and seal a victory in this away leg here? This is completely what I'm looking for here. Have a look at some of these performances. Do I need to be thinking about any subs? Not really, to be honest. They look like they're playing pretty well. Here come Millwall. We've won the ball back. That's a poor putt. He's in here. Abel's giving it straight to them. Now there's loads of space for Ogwuche. By the way, I will go and analyse, just as Musa takes it. He's put it wide. Thank God for that. I will go and analyse things like the goal scoring stats and the player stats from each division. So even data that's obvious like that is super useful for next season, especially if we do end up getting promoted. Going and having a look at the best performing championship players might be cheaper that you can then go and bring into the Premier League with us. Although obviously we know some of the top goal scorers because they're players like Harry Freeman and Fari Sarr, who play for us, of course. Here's Abel as well himself into the box. Can he set up another goal? Can he go alone? It's going to bounce back for Shari. Oh my word. Deflected. That was almost 2-0. I've not made a sub. I'm going to do a sub now, I think. Let's go with... Who's looking most tired? Abel is very tired. We've got Harry Freeman struggling. We don't really... Our bench is very young now. Without the loan players, this bench is not very strong. And we're very much relying on the players that we've got to keep going. Fosh is a decent option to play left wing. So we'll do him because Abel was quite tired. Is there a decent... There isn't really. None of these players are great. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Mordiata's okay as a centre-back. The rest aren't amazing. So I think I'm only going to make one sub. And then maybe rest up between games. Can we get ourselves away from here with a victory? 10 to play. We're into added time, and it looks like we are going to get that victory, although we might actually... He's in! Play him! Play it across the free... Oh, my word. Freeman, good penalty! That's a pen! Okay. I thought we had a great chance. Sarr didn't quite get the pass correct, did he? But Freeman was taken out. We're going to get a penalty here. We have the chance to almost seal a place in this playoff final if... we can finish, if we can score this penalty. I think it's Fosh taking it. It is. He's taken a few off the bench this season. He scores this one, and we are looking really good for a playoff final here. Josep Miquel Fosh has put it in off the bench. A 2-0 lead right at the end. I would have taken 1-0, but 2-0. Surely now we've got 1 foot in the playoff final, right? Oh, don't do this. Don't give me the injury right at the end. Danny Ogle has gone off injured. We'll go Mordiata. Swap those over. That hopefully isn't going to be a bad one. Oh, what type of injury was it? It was a lower leg injury. Hopefully it's just like a bruised shin or something. We've won 2-0. This was going to be the easier game. I wonder what the other result was, by the way. Was it a Plymouth win? They were the team that finished third. I guess we'll keep an eye on that as well. What's this injury? Danny O got out 2 to 3 weeks. He's going to miss the second leg. maybe even the final once we get to it. That's not good. Sharifi's also picked up a suspension. That's not great news. What was the other score? Plymouth and Blackburn have drawn 1-1. I'll tell you what I'm going to go and do. Because we've got a 2-0 lead, this might come back to bite me. I'm going to go and play this second leg now. And then what I'm hoping is we'll have a live comm for the final. Okay, so we are successfully through to the final. It was a very, very good performance actually in this second leg here. I'll bring you the highlights. It was a 3-1 win. It was a good start. We're back in our blue kit here. Look, Campoire deflected off about 15 people and into the back of the net to give us the lead. That made it 3-0 on aggregate at that stage. And then into the second half, we're approaching the 60th minute here. Look, Sastra down the right-hand side into Campoire, very involved in this game. There's Farisar, who just, look at that for a finish, just places it. Remember, we found him through data. He was scoring goals in the league below last year, and now he's gone on and had this season. It's just so, it feels so rewarding. This is why this way of playing the game is so fun and so different, because if you find these players and then they do well, you feel, I don't know, you feel smart when you're playing the game. They did get a goal back to make it 2-1, and then right at the end, we sealed, it was 5-1 on aggregate in the end. Sastra down the right-hand side, look, crosses right to the back post, and there he is, look, Abel, our main man. We need to try and tie him down to a new contract, actually. Maybe we'll find out what we do in this championship playoff final. Completely comfortable in the end. We will be playing the winner of Plymouth and Blackburn, which I'm going to go and press continue now to find out who it's going to be in our playoff final. We will be playing, still hasn't happened yet, we will be playing Plymouth. It is Plymouth then. They did finish, if we go to the league table, they were the team that were very close to going up automatically. They only lost 8 all season. They got 94 points, 2 points off the automatics as well. This will be tricky. 4-1 aggregate win. This will be tricky. We play them in a week. I guess we get ourselves up to that game and see if we can get ourselves promoted in season 1. Come on. Okay, it's match day, and one little thing just to show you here. The World Cup takes place this summer. We will definitely be scouting that competition, maybe having a look at which players perform well there, because that can really influence our recruitment, couldn't it, as well? Just interestingly as well, though, some players called up from our team. Harry Freeman is in the England squad. He's not yet had a cap for the first team, but he's got 9 under-21 caps. He's one that maybe we need to be looking at trying to bring back on loan again for next year. Maybe trying to, if we get promoted, maybe signing him permanently. Do you know what? 10 to 14 million might be a bit of a bargain for him. We know he scores goals. Farisar's in the Senegal team, Sharifi for Iran, Takamura for Japan, and then Danny Ogle, who's still injured, unfortunately, for Australia. I think he's still injured. We'll check that now. Now it is time for that playoff final. We're going to have Kiesel in goal. Can we bring back in Nakayama? We can. He will start right back. Danny Ogle is not fully fit. He's actually a long way off being fit, isn't he? So I don't think we can play him, can we? We're going to go more Diatta and Campoire, I think. That is a weak central defensive partnership compared to what we usually have. Takamura's unhappy because he wants us to get more goalkeepers, but we move. Sharifi's not going to be able to play. I don't know who we're going to play defensive midfield here. Sharifi with that suspension has hurt us because Campoire is already playing there. We could try Arnau, who can play there, but who would we play? I don't know where we play people. Like, we need to move players around here. Arnau there. Maybe Hinestroza there. If we got a defense, we just don't really have another midfielder, do we? I think we're going to keep people in their better positions like this, and we're going to start a different defensive midfielder, I think. I think we're going to go like this. Who would be, is it Truslove? Who would be the choice here? Probably Lawson. I mean, he's not great, is he? Unless there's a centre-back. Unless we just play Danny Ogle. I don't think we can. Dom Lawson has played a few games. Takamura can play centre-back. I think I'm going to have to think outside the box here. I think I'm going to go like this. Harry Field is going to play left-back. Diatta and Takamura are going to play as centre-backs. A lot of left-footed defenders there. Campari plays as the defensive midfielder. Hinestroza, Arnau, Abel, and then the attack is the same. Harry Freeman needs a rest, but he's going to have to play. He's got 33 goals this season, for Pete's sake. We'll put Sastra back on the bench because we need him. And then that's going to be the team for this playoff final. Can we get ourselves back to the promised land? At the first time of asking for us. Birmingham, remember, have been in the Premier League twice in this save, and that's it. And we are 100 years in the future. That is outrageous. But here we go at Wembley. I assume it's Wembley. For the playoff final in 21-25. Can we do the business? Here we go. Let's give them a shout. Encourage them after 5 minutes here. Slow and steady start. Having a look at the stats here. We've had a shot. We've got a corner. Now we know we are a threat from these. Able at the end of it. That's why you have a 6'3" left winger, by the way. No Danny Ogle, so he's usually our set piece threat. It's been actually quite a good start from Plymouth here. 3 shots from them, just 2 from us. They've had 2 on target. They've had a 3rd on target now as well. Probably the team in the ascendancy, but the highlight so far has been us, hasn't it? With that corner and that header from Abel. Lewis Potter in goal. Lane. Bertha. We tried to sign that. Ulysses Bertha. I identified him through some scouting, some data-driven scouting. Freeman's in, by the way. Freeman scores! We lead at Wembley. We'll come back to that story about their centre defensive midfielder. Freeman has given us the lead in the playoff final. It's a lovely bit of play. It's actually Bertha who, I was going to say, he doesn't give it away. It's given away from their midfielder. Campoire, ball into the channel. Freeman on the end of it. Lovely touch. Good finish. We lead. What I was saying is that their defensive midfielder, Ulysses Bertha, I tried to sign him, and after doing the data scouting, found him. He was one of the best 6s that I could find. In the end, he chose Plymouth, and we went for Campari instead. Campari now just getting the assist against them as well, which is quite fun. We've had 1 shot on target and scored it. They've been, probably looking at the stats, the better team. They've had more possession, more shots on target, higher XG. But I guess that doesn't matter. We've created the only clear-cut chance so far, and we lead at Wembley. Here come Plymouth with Lane and Mosconi. It's lovely seeing. I have no idea who these players are, because you wouldn't. We're 100 years in the future, but I reckon we'll get to know quite a few of the teams. Like Plymouth are going to go up. We're going to play against some of these players next year. We might get to know quite a few of these new gen players in the save. It's just a completely different way of playing, isn't it? Yamada. This could be 1-1. It's a good chance. Oh, so that's a terrible tackle. That's the left back we've brought in, Harry Field. And he just swiped him over. It's going to be a penalty to Plymouth. I don't think we need to check this one, to be honest, ref. It was the most obvious foul I've ever seen. Referee Nick Carroll. Even the referees are going to be new gens, aren't they? Who's Nick Carroll? And same old referees, though. Rubbish. Never a pen. It was, to be fair. Right, Plymouth can get themselves back level here. And having been the better team, they probably deserve it as well. Right, because we need to... Why are we still watching this? Come on, man. It's going to be Segura to take it against Keedle. Oh, he went the right way. Keedle couldn't keep it out, and it's 1-1. 23rd goal of the season. Noted. I'm noticing. Player scoring loads of goals. He's going to go to the Prem next year, so he's probably going to be... I say that. I keep saying they're going to go to the Prem. They're not going to go to the Prem. I thought they were one of the... For some reason in my head, I thought they were one of the automatically promoted teams. They're in the playoff final against us. They're not going to be in the Prem because we are. They might be in the Prem because they might beat us, but I'm thinking of... I had that completely weirdly wrong in my head there. Maybe if we get promoted, Segura could be a player that we could scout to maybe sign. Have a look at some of his data, some of his stats. Chance from the corner. We have it back. Freeman. That's a chance. Abel. It's in. 30th goal of the season. I thought they were going to check it. They're not. It's in. It's a set piece breakdown. Corner. Recycled. Tapped in at the far post here. I think it's Freeman that gets the ball across. It's headed back, look. Yeah, he picks it up. First time, missed at the near post, and Abel is there. He's very able to tap it home. I don't think we've deserved this, but we're 2-1 up against Plymouth here. We lead again in the playoff final. There's about half an hour plus added time to go and play. Can we see this through? I need to have a look now. Who is... Do I need to think about some subs here? I'm looking at the stats of the players and who's tired. Hinostroza. Again, we just don't have great subs. A 3rd goal would be so lovely. Abel's there. Oh, he's so good at those back post headers. Getting a winger or an inside forward, by the way, who's tall and can win headers can be a complete game changer in this game. Honestly, they will score. Talas Magno, in any save, he's quite a tall winger. He's a bit of a wonder kid. Just put him as an inside forward. He'll score headers for days for you. There's an extra bonus tip for you. Right, 74 on the clock. We've got a highlight. I'm wondering if it's like Harry Field we try and get off. He's our left back. He gave away that pen. He's on a yellow. He's not playing great. I don't know who. Maybe putting Takamura back to left back and bringing on a different centre back might be the play. We might score again here. It's Saar! Farry Saar! The one signing I've given you most detail about has made it 3-1. And his goal might have just sealed our place in the Premier League for next year. It could be a first season promotion, which is glorious. Diatta over the top. Two of our goals very similar, by the way. Just a ball from one of our, well, it's defensive midfielder to start with. Centre-back this time. Ball over the top. Striker finishes it. And I think we're about to be promoted. This is glorious. Let's do Harry Field for... Let's play Takamura there and bring on... We could do Danny Ogo. I'm not going to. We're going to do Dom Lawson. I'm also going to change Hinostroza for Trustlove, who's not a great player, but fresh legs might be exactly what we need in that midfield right now. He'll come in. So two new players brought on there. 9 minutes to play. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell them to waste a bit of time, be a bit more disciplined, see this game out from this point. There is 5-6 minutes to play. I think we're about to win the playoffs, everybody. I think we're going back to the Premier League, and that opens up so many opportunities for recruitment now that we're going to be a Premier League team. 8 minutes at the end. I mean, maybe we'll add an extra goal. It's going to be Freeman. It's off the post. It's away. What an effort that was, by the way. Freeman, for about £10 million, could be... That could be a pen. He's not giving it. He could be our first signing, actually, couldn't he? I wonder if... We've signed a League One striker in Farisar. I wonder if he's going to be able to do it in the Premier League. That could be a whole thing here as well. Whether these players... I've signed, like, Nakayama signed from the Japanese league. Is he going to be able to translate that to Premier League football? Who knows? Why do we get to see a lovely... We don't get to lift the trophy. But either way, we are confirmed as being a Premier League team for our second season. Birmingham are back in the big time after winning the playoff finals. We rejoice in promotion success. We've also been given our initial budgets. Any type of serious money here could be a game changer in this save. We've been given £31 million. I will take that. That feels like that's good money that can be moneyballed. I'm excited for this window. And I guess that means we need to start scouting, don't we? One player I do want to have a quick look at is this Oscar Segura, who had all of those goals for Plymouth and must have been right up there. 23 goals, 10 assists, a decent average rating. Tell you what I'm going to do. Let's get a full scout report on him because he could be one that you could pick up relatively cheap look, and he's 30. I thought he was only 20. He's capped at under 20 level. That probably rules it out, although he is wanted. If he's cheap, he's wanted by West Ham and Watford. Anyway, what I'm going to go and do now is all of that scouting. I will also have a look at all of the stats, like Carroll Thompson, who's going up with Preston, was the top goal scorer. Then Harry Freeman. Maybe we sign Freeman. Oguche, we just saw him actually in the playoffs, didn't we? Maybe have a look at him. Hip Eastman. Highest average rating is Thompson. And then Nakayama actually second for us. Christian Cruz, Alex Rodriguez. I'll go and have a look at all of these players, get them all scouted, do some of the exporting of data, and then analysing all that data too. And I'll be back next time showing you what we've done to get ready for the Premier League. Please do today hit the like button for the first episode in a new series. It is so helpful when that happens, by the way. Please leave me a comment and let me know what you think of this as an idea, as a save. I think it's a lot of fun. If you want to go and try it yourself, you can either go and simulate your game 100 years into the future, or you could go and download the save file, which is, as with all of the save files from all of my saves, is on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/Clayts for that one there. But that's where we'll end it for today. I'll see you next time for our second season. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. See you later.